Marhaba, my name is Megan and welcome to Wanderlust Voyages. We are here to tell you all about Morocco, from the culture to the cities to the cuisine. Today we are here to share more about the cuisine of Morocco. As we were just in Morocco, I took a couple of cooking lessons from my sisters-in-law, and we recorded them teaching me how to make some traditional Moroccan sweets, and then I'm going to work on translating that to American kitchens and trying to make them myself. So first up we have boat cookies. Now boat cookies were very popular with my family the first time that they went to Morocco, and they actually refer to them as Snickers cookies because the way that my niece Ilham had made them at the time is she had just used peanuts and honey and drizzled the top with chocolate. So that's one way you can do them. They're very flexible and there's a lot of ways you can customize it. So my sisters-in-law in Morocco made a different kind that I would personally call peanut butter and jelly cookies. They are delicious, but you can make them with whatever nuts, whatever kind of jam or honey you would like, and whatever sort of drizzle on top you would like, or you can leave it off entirely. So let's first go to Morocco and see how they did it, and then we'll come back here to the US and see how I'm able to follow their instructions. Let's go. So today I'm here in Morocco with some of my family, and I'm going to learn how to make Moroccan cookies with my sisters-in-law, Naima and Nisa. I'm gesturing to the wrong one with the wrong name, not that it matters. Both of them are wonderful cooks and bakers, and each of them also has a cooking YouTube channel, which I will be sure to link in the description below. So let's learn about the ingredients, and also one of my nephews, Mohammed, is here to translate. So what do we need to make the cake?
خاصك تقول لها هادو تقوليهم ليها.
بسم الله. هذه الزبدة.
The name of which one?
Yes.
قول لهم السميت ديال كلشي قولهم بالعربية.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. بسم الله. نبدا معكم واحد الحليوة ساهلة. هذه الزبدة نص كيلو الزبدة.
So
كاس.
أنا نترجم. It's a half kilogram of butter.
Okay.
Yeah.
100 غرام ديال الزيت.
1 glass of oil.
Okay, and then just regular vegetable oil? It's not olive oil or a special kind of oil?
It's not.
Okay, regular vegetable oil.
Yes.
Great.
100 غرام ديال سكر غلاص.
100 gram of powdered sugar.
Okay.
4 البيضات.
4 eggs.
Okay.
هذا الحجم هذا.
Large eggs.
Yes.
هذا سكر فاني.
Vanilla.
Vanilla.
Yes. And so here in Morocco, they don't use vanilla extract, they use a vanilla powder, and each packet is 7.5 grams. So that will be 15 grams of vanilla powder. And we'll need some golden raisins. And peanuts. And these are roasted.
هذا غادي ندكوه ونهرمشوه.
And as these are boat cookies, they are made in these little tins that are shaped like boats. And of course you'll need a rolling pin and a fork. And honey as well. And this is you said 2 kilograms of flour?
It's 2 kilograms.
Okay. And pastry flour is what we want to use for these.
Yes.
Okay.
يلا بسم الله.
good start.
كنا تكون
قولي بصح.
Whatever.
كنبغيو باش نشوفو.
So, yeah, we soften the butter, it looks like. It can be seen. And so, how many peanuts or cocoa are we using?
شحال كتبغي ديري؟
على حساب على حساب
شحال تقريبا؟
على حساب ما بدك بزاف والله ما يجي بزاف
Okay.
دير السكيلو
half kilogram.
A half kilo. Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
And do we need to peel them first or just try to peel some of them?
تقشرهم ولا يشوفوا فيهم كاملين؟
تقشروها
كاملين تقشرهم كاملين؟
غنقشر داكشي نرمشو
you need to peel them.
Okay, so we want them peeled and then we're going to grind them a bit and that's going to make them
Mix them with onion
okay
and raisin.
and the raisins. Okay. But we don't want to grind them really small but kind of large chunks.
قالك فاش تهرسي واش تردهم كبار ولا صغار؟ Just a little bit, not so much.
Okay.
It's like large.
Okay.
زيد بحال هكا شويه على هذا نزيدو شويه
Okay.
Just a little bit more.
غنبينو
So we need to soften the butter and add the powdered sugar. And of course, don't forget to sift all of your powdered sugar and flour before you start. You want a nice smooth dough without any lumps. So as you will have seen, I usually use my stand mixer back in the States, but here in Morocco, they do everything by hand. And it is typically done in this plate. What is it called? Does it have a special name?
Cacao?
The plate?
Tabsil. It's tabsil in Arabic.
Okay. They're used to make all sorts of pastries and breads and anything that you want to mix by hand, as well as often used for serving very large amounts.
Yes.
It looks like the bottom of a tagine.
This is the big one.
Okay. So you want to grind your peanuts to a medium powder.
The big plate there, it's called gasa.
Gasa.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then we're adding the oil. So these are the cookies that my sisters actually call the Snickers cookies because of the peanuts and the honey, and you can also drizzle them with chocolate on top. The first time that they had them here, there weren't any raisins in them, and so it was really like Snickers in cookie form. They are delicious. So once the oil is fully incorporated into the butter and sugar, we are adding the eggs. And then the vanilla powder. And this is salt. Okay, and of course, as always, you want to add a pinch of salt to help bring out the flavor. All right, looks like about a 1/4 teaspoon. And then adding the flour in 2 batches. Make sure to incorporate it. So you may need to add a bit more flour.
Another 1 kilogram.
Okay, so we're adding about another kilogram to work into the dough and take it from this very soft, almost pourable dough to something that can be shaped.
ما تكويش بزاف عمر يمشي يتهمش
اي ما تبقاش بزاف
لا طروفه كبار.
So as I can smell the dough, I think one of the keys to the Snickers cookies is the vanilla powder. This smells amazing already. So it comes together in a nice soft dough. It should look like a giant block of butter. Okay, so it should be not sticky to the touch and not too tough either. You should be able to easily press it.
There's one peeling.
So putting this down just as a clean surface.
Yes.
Okay.
She needs to work with this one.
Okay, to roll it out.
Because we eat from this table, the other cellophane is gonna be a little
Cleaner.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay. So on a clean work surface, use about a 1/4 of the dough, and we're going to roll it out, of course, flouring the surface. That is an incredibly smooth dough. And how thin do you roll it?
شحال مرة الطولة شحال مرة زعما تقدير
لا حسب نولي القياس
شي وسيد
Okay. Okay.
should she stop?
That's fine. Okay. When we have it all rolled out, Looks like it's about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit thinner. You definitely want a nice thin cookie. And then you just want to lay it over all of your little boats. That's why we use the cellophane. So this is an express method for filling it. And once you have it,
it's gonna short store the time. Like that.
Yes.
If you want to just like make one by one, it's gonna take you a lot of time.
I was wondering about that because Ilham made us a lot of cookies before.
Yeah.
And this makes much more sense. That's a great shortcut.
Yeah.
And so it looks like just pressing it into the mold.
قربي شوي الكاميرا باش تشوفها.
And there is an indent, making sure that there's a little bit of an indent there because that's what you're going to fill with the nuts and honey and fruit.
قربي الكاميرا باش مزيان قربي زي شوفي الكاميرا فين بعينك وقربي.
And is there anything we need to know about shaping it?
واش مازال شي حاجه واحده اخرى
Any
زعما
instructions?
زعما مازال شي حاجه واحده اخرى من هكا
And then pricking the bottom with a fork so that it doesn't puff up. And once you have each mold ready, you will put it on a baking sheet. So one thing I didn't mention was the temperature for the oven, and that's because in Morocco, most people use a traditional oven that has a propane tank, and there's no real temperature control. It is one temperature. However, that is around 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So if we aren't able to find these little molds, are the cookies able to be made without a mold, just like free form?
قلت لك واش زعما الا ما كانتش هذيك القصديره واش يمكن نصاوبوا في طريقه واحده اخرى.
No. They'll spread?
Yeah.
Okay.
غادي ينتشروا. Yes, it's gonna spread.
Okay. So we need some kind of mold.
Yes.
If you do not have a small one, you can probably use a muffin tin. You just want to make sure that you get it very thin again, that about 1/8 of an inch on the bottom, and put it up the sides just a little bit. That's going to hold the fruit and nuts. And of course, don't forget to prick the bottom so that it doesn't expand. Okay, so they are all filled and with the holes pricked. And now the other question is, how long do we bake these for? How long do we put them in the oven for?
شحال الوقت في الفران؟ Like 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, and of course, keep an eye on them. You want them to be golden. So we'll see you back in 20 minutes. Okay, so it looks like they are about done. They are just set and pale golden. And so you can see this is the traditional oven. There's no dials to adjust the temperature. It is just one oven with 2 shelves in there. And this is how they make all these incredible delicacies here in Morocco. So let's take these out, let them cool, and then we will show you how to fill them. So you want to let them cool just a little bit, and then you can see how easily they pop out of their molds. So get them out so that you can let your molds cool down. You don't want to put the butter dough in hot molds, and then you can continue and with the rest of the dough and make the rest of your cookies. You can see they are just golden around the edges and on the bottoms. You don't want them too dark or they will become too brittle as they cool.
Because it has the butter, it's not gonna stick.
Yes. That's what makes them come out so nicely.
Yeah.
So now we're going to create the filling. And so we're going to add our ground peanuts. And because we are a little short on honey, we're not going to make all of the filling right now. So we're going to add the honey to it. We don't really have measurements at this point. It's definitely more on how it feels. And so we want enough honey for all of it to stick together, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, this filling can be very customizable. You can use whatever nuts and dried fruits you would like. You can substitute different jellies for the honey as well. Okay, so it is not dripping with honey, but just enough where it will hold its shape. And you just fill the little boats. You do need enough honey so that it will make the nuts adhere to the cookie, of course. Okay. So we're adding a little bit of jam to help it keep its shape. And adding the golden raisins. And of course, if you don't like raisins, you leave them out.
خلاص استوت تزيد كري تزيد في الضوء تزيد في الفرن.
It's very good.
اديك شويه شوكولاته من الفوق ساعات صوني تعليق شوكولات عند الشرب
جايه طب زوين
داك جا
with the jam, instead of Snickers cookies, it's more like peanut butter and jelly cookies. It's very good. And to finish off the cookies, we have about a cup of Nutella with a large spoon of butter and just a drizzle of oil, and that is warmed in a double boiler just until it is smooth. And we will put this in a pastry bag and add a wonderful chocolate drizzle to the top of our cookies.
لا بنقصد نديرها كاملة ما تديريها تبدا بالبداية خطوطها.
There you have it. Our boat cookies are complete and absolutely delicious. They are easy, very customizable, and you can easily make them for an entire crowd. So I will see if I can give this a try and make it just as well as Nizha did. Perfect. Shukran, thank you. Okay, I am back in the US and ready to try this for myself. So I did some research and realized that that was not actually 3 kilograms of flour that they used, because that would have been 24 cups, and that was not 24 cups worth of flour. So I've got 10 cups of pastry flour here that I'm going to try. I have some more in case we need to add a little bit more. Remember, this is a little bit of an experiment. 1 pound of unsalted butter, 4 eggs, 4 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1 cup of powdered sugar, and 1 cup of oil. And of course, because these are boat cookies, you need your little boat molds. If you don't have these, then I would recommend using the little egg tart mold, and it will be very similar, just round. So we are going to get started by creaming our butter. Our butter, of course, is at room temperature. It's been sitting out for a bit. And I know Nizha did this all by hand, literally, but I'm going to revert to my mixer. There we go. My handy kitchen aid. We will use a paddle attachment for this. And we just want to get this nice and creamed. Now we will add in our powdered sugar. Now that the sugar is incorporated, we will add in the oil. And to make sure everything mixes well, be sure to scrape down your bowl. You want this to be a cohesive liquid, really. Maybe a thin paste. Okay, this is looking very much like a batter at this point. We don't want any chunks of butter. And now we're going to begin adding our eggs one at a time with the mixer running to fully incorporate. So you can see this is becoming a smooth batter, very cohesive. The last thing we add is our vanilla. Okay, now that all of our wet ingredients and our sugar are well incorporated, and we have a light, almost fluffy batter going on, I'm going to begin adding our pastry flour, just a couple of cups at a time. I want to slowly work this in and not have a giant flour cloud come up out of my mixer. All right, we are 6 cups of flour in, and it's almost to the point of a chocolate chip cookie dough, and we want this to be a dough that can be rolled out. So this makes 8. And the quantity of this is such that I am going to have to switch to doing this by hand. Hold for a moment. Okay, I'm just using the base to my large ceramic tagine. And we're going to scrape all this into here, and I will finish kneading in the flour by hand. Remember, this makes a whole lot of cookies, about 10 dozen. The good thing, like pretty much any butter-based cookie recipe, this dough will be very easy to freeze. So you can always make the batch now and save some for later. Also, you can roll it out and cut other cookies or make thumbprint cookies out of it. It's a very versatile, lovely butter dough. All right. Nisa and Naima are going to see what I'm doing and think I am crazy for not just doing this in the first place. But in all fairness, they have a much bigger dish to work with. Okay, so this was about 9 cups of flour, and this is looking like and feeling like the right consistency. So definitely do not try to use 3 kilos of flour. That is far too much. I would say have 10 cups on hand just to be safe. All right, I'm not going to worry about kneading this too much because of course we don't want to develop the gluten. All I want to do is make sure all these little bits of flour are incorporated. All right. I think we're there. Now it is time to roll this out. I'm going to do a little bit of a hybrid method. Nisa had used saran wrap, rolled it out, and then flipped it over onto the boats that were arranged on a sheet. Naima had rolled it out, put all these on there, and then picked them up. I think what I'm going to do is roll it out, put these on, flip it over, and peel it off. Take the best out of both. Okay, we're going to put down some plastic wrap. And grab about a quarter of this dough. I have 20 of these little boats, so this looks like it will be enough for that. Oh, looks like my dough, I may have actually added a little too much flour. It is cracking just a bit, but I think we're going to be okay. So you want this rolled out to about 1/8 of an inch. This is suddenly giving me flashbacks to the gluten-free shebekia. All right, we're gonna stop there. All right, looks like that was more than enough dough. So maybe I'll use Naima's method after all, because I have a lot of extra dough here. Okay, now that I have all of my little boats filled, let's put the rest of these scraps back, and we will shape and poke holes in them. Fork, very important for poking holes. So remember, when you are shaping it, you want to make sure it's well pressed in, and you want to make sure there's a little divot in there. You don't want it deep, but just a small bit. That's going to help hold those fillings. And prick the bottom. All right, let's get these on the baking sheet. And of course you want to try to keep them evenly spaced so that the air flows evenly around them and they bake evenly. If you have any that are a little thicker, try to put those on the edges. If you have any that are a little thinner, try to make sure that is inside. All right, now we're going to bake these for about, we're going to give them a check at about 15 minutes and we'll see how they look. Since we have so much dough, and I'm going to put some of this in the freezer, I'm going to make some thumbprint cookies with some of this as well. So I'm just going to use a cookie scoop to make sure that my cookies are even. I'm just going to start with balls of dough. All right, now I'm just going to flatten them and use my thumb to put a hole right in the middle. You may need to try to keep your edges together just a little bit. You don't want it to crack too much, or else your jam will run out. All right, now I have just a fig jam I'm going to use. If I can open it with my hands covered in butter. There it goes. And just a small amount in the center of each cookie. All right, and then I'm just actually going to finish these off with a sprinkling of sesame seeds. Since a lot of Moroccan cookies do use toasted sesame seeds, I do keep large quantities of them on hand. Okay, and those will join the boat cookies as soon as they are out of the oven. Okay, these have come out of the oven. They are set, and as you can see, they are just lightly golden, and they slip right out of these molds. All right. For the topping, this is where they did not have any measurements for me at all. And so ultimately it will depend on how many cookies you are making. You're going to want about half a teaspoon of filling in each of, or on each of the cookies. So I'm going to be making more cookies than this, probably one more batch. And so I did 3/4 of a cup of dry roasted peanuts. I ground them. I ended up with it a little finer than I would have liked. Chopping it would have been better. If you have a mortar and pestle, that would be ideal. So you do want it to be a little bit chunkier than this. of course, the actual filling ingredients are entirely up to you. For the actual Snickers cookies, as they have been dubbed, I'm just going to use the peanuts, honey, and about half a cup of chocolate chips with about a teaspoon of coconut oil. Now, if you want to make more of a peanut butter and jelly cookie, that's when you're going to use peanuts and use a jam. I would recommend something with red fruits. If you want to do anything else, you can use whatever chopped nuts, whatever dried fruit you would like. You can use white chocolate chips or butterscotch chips or peanut butter chips or whatever strikes your fancy. It's really customizable and up to your imagination. So for the amounts, as I mentioned, we don't have amounts. You want to have your filling ingredients, in this case just the peanuts, and add enough of your sweetener to act as a glue. Okay, that's about a quarter cup or so of honey. Let's give that a stir and see how we're doing. Maybe we should have heated the honey first. Looks like with my overly chopped nuts, I might have a little bit of a peanut dough situation going on. Let me try a spoon. See if a spoon instead of a spatula works a little bit better. That works better. Rubber spatula is a little too soft. Okay, looks like I need a bit more honey. Maybe another, let's do about another 2 tablespoons. That is looking pretty good. However, I am still a little bit concerned about it gluing to the cookie itself. So just a touch more honey. And of course, the viscosity of your honey, of your jam, whatever is going to affect how much you use. So what you want this to do is to serve as a glue to keep the filling together and to keep it on the cookie. Okay, now I'm going to do something else they told me about afterwards, after my hands were covered in jam last time, but I'm going to spray my hands and use that to help me make the balls to top the cookies. Okay. So we're going to take a little ball of dough and a cookie and press it on there. You really want to press it down to get it to adhere. All right, I probably could have distributed that a little better, but we got filling on all of them. Okay, now we need to take care of the chocolate. Now, when you are melting chocolate, of course, you can always do it over a double boiler, but I'm going to do it in the microwave. I'm going to start with 30 seconds, stir it, and then I will do it in 15-second intervals, stirring as I go so that I don't burn it. All right, it's been about a minute, and while not everything is melted, it is mostly melted, so I'm going to just keep stirring stirring it. The residual heat will melt everything else. All right, that looks glossy and smooth and wonderful. I'm going to transfer the cookies to a baking rack because I don't really want to have them end up in a puddle of chocolate. All right. Just give these a good drizzle. Of course, drizzle them as much or as little as you would like. All right, I think that looks pretty good. It definitely had too much chocolate, so I would cut it down to 1/4 cup and a 1/2 teaspoon of coconut oil. So that is it. I'm going to let these cool and I will show you when they are all set. And in the meantime, I took the Thumbprint ones out. You can see they are just golden on the bottom, and those are going to be quite delicious as well. All right, and there are the finished cookies. Yes, they are still a little bit glossy because I have not actually given them time to finish setting. I need my kitchen for other things right now. But they are absolutely delicious, and I hope that you will try them out as well. Don't forget, you can use the dough for many different types of cookies. It's a wonderful, versatile base, and I hope you enjoy. Bon appetit!